Very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at the headlines this evening.
Rajapalya Park in Kurunegala falls prey to a development project. Protests against sand mining in Mirigama. 4 arrested for stealing explosive material from a quarry in Mavanella. Sena caterpillar menace continues to cause destruction. Farmers protest today as well. India approves AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine to be free across India. Subject Minister visits Kandy to explain about the East Container Terminal at the Colombo port.
Now on to one of your headline-making stories. Development activities cannot occur at the cost of losing natural resources or archaeological structures in a country. In the past, Newsfirst has extensively reported on the damages caused to artifacts due to development projects. The Rajapalya Park in Kurunegala has fallen prey to one such initiative.
The Rajapalya Park in Kurunegala is one of the sought-after destinations, especially by local tourists visiting the northwestern province. But the centuries-old park is facing a tragic fate at present, as several trees have been cut off in its premises. A private entity has been entrusted with the task of cutting down the trees as the first of the 2 phases in developing the park.
They have cut off large neem trees. 32 trees have been cut down in total. This includes 2 neem trees and citrus trees as well. Cutting these trees is a waste. We are concerned about these activities.
Although 28 trees had been earmarked to be cut off as part of the development plan, Newsfirst learns that 32 trees have already been chopped off. An ancient structure of archaeological value has also been demolished at the park.
This archaeological structure has been destroyed to pieces without a trace. This structure has been demolished by hands and not using machines. This is a place of archaeological value.
I
can recall the history of this park dating back to 50 years. I am worried about its current situation. The visitors to the park are literally crying due to the destruction that has taken place. The park is one among the few remaining signs of Kurunegala's history. It has faced total destruction. The current landscape of the park is similar to farmlands in Vanni. It is useless to talk about the damages since they have already been inflicted. The damages cannot be restored. The old trees cannot be replaced as well. Just as the ancient king's code that cannot be restored, we cannot do anything about this.
We used to come and play at the park in our early days. This park has a history of more than a century. The people's representatives who live on the taxpayers' money have failed to serve the public.
Meanwhile, a team of representatives from the Vayambahanda Environmental Organization visited the area today.
This is a tragic situation. This place consists of an archaeological construction. Projects at the park must take place following an extensive analysis.
A few months ago, we witnessed the demolition of the ancient King's Court in Kurunegala town. The only natural park in the Kurunegala town is the Rajapalya Park. Clearly, incidents of this magnitude could have been avoided if proper action was taken when we raised concerns on the demolition of the archaeological structure.
Kurunegala Mayor Tushara Sanjeeva told Newsfirst that he will address the matter at a news conference tomorrow.
Residents of Talakolayaya, Mirigama staged a protest today to highlight the environmental damages caused as a result of the large-scale sand mining carried out in the area. The protesters claimed that this increases the risk of water sources in the area being destroyed.
These sand mining operations in Kalekanda, Talakolayaya in Mirigama are conducted after obtaining prior approval and licenses from the relevant authorities. However, area residents staged a protest against these activities, claiming that they cause severe environmental damage in the area. The area residents claim that sand mining had been carried out in this area for a long time and it has given rise to various environmental issues in the area. The protesters later marched from the Thalakola junction to Kalekanda, the area where the sand mining was taking place. Another group of residents in the area staged a demonstration in support of the sand mining activities carried out in the area.
How can we engage in these development projects? The President has asked us to mine sand from these areas for these construction activities. Are we supposed to obtain sand from India to construct this road? We have obtained recommendations from the National Building Research Organization, the Urban Development Authority and the Archaeological Department for this project. They are mining from the top of the mountain in the village. We need to protect this mountain range. All the water sources nourishing these villages derive from this mountain range. We firmly state that the ruling party is responsible for this. The other parties are doing this with their support.
The protesters dispersed after State Minister Indika Anuruddha over the phone assured that the issue would be resolved.
The Sena caterpillar continues to ravage corn cultivations in almost all parts of the country. Frustrated by the menace, farmers staged a protest demanding compensation for the damages faced by their crops.
The fall armyworm, locally dubbed as the Sena caterpillar, has destroyed nearly half of the cornfields that extend across 1,000 acres in the Giribawa area. Farmers affected by the infestation of the caterpillar staged a protest demanding compensation for the damages.
The hapless farmers have incurred large expenses to cultivate their crops, but the authorities had failed to address their problems. In the past, officers said that they would provide seeds, fertilizer and even offer agrarian consultancy services. But the farmers are yet to receive any of these. The government has not implemented a suitable work plan to protect the farmers in the country.
Meanwhile, national organizer of the All Ceylon Farmers Federation, Namal Karunaratne, visited farmers to inquire into their problems.
We demand the government to offer a compensation of 100,000 rupees for every damaged acre of farmland. This is the request of farmers. They have been putting forth these demands since 2018 because successive governments have failed to live up to their promises. Farmers in Ampara are yet to receive compensation worth 330.4 million rupees due to damages caused by the Sena caterpillar.
The infestation of Sena caterpillars has been witnessed across cornfields in the Yalgamu area as well.
The
damages caused by Sena caterpillars across cornfields have been reported from 8 provinces in the country, with the exclusion of the Western province. Our correspondent reported that a team of Rwandan experts who visited the country to discover a solution to the menace had left the country today. The team of specialists inspected the damages caused by the Sena caterpillar to corn cultivation in the Samagipura Pahalagama area located in the Anuradhapura district.
A team from Rwanda visited the country. We held talks with the agrarian officers in our department to identify the technical support that can be granted to combat this problem. The remedies being implemented in that country are also taking place here to a greater extent. On some occasions, we have surpassed them in taking action. Instead of identifying a chemical to address this problem, we hope to uncover a pesticide that can be applied to these fields. In 2017, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations launched a project in Rwanda to provide capacities and equipment to farmers for better monitoring, management and early warning. The FAO launched pheromone lures and traps in the fields affected by the fall army worm on the same day they planted the maize. The new technology acted as an early warning mechanism, since agricultural experts say that spotting the pest when it is in its early stage larva is a key to prevent the fall army worm menace. All agronomists working with farmers affected by the fall army worm were given smartphones fully installed with the fall army worm monitoring and early warning system application. They record information in the field such as location, the number of male fall army worm caught by the trap, control measures used and agricultural system practiced, among others. Following the conclusion of the project, Rwanda successfully managed to tackle the fall army worm menace in the country.
Newsfirst teams combed several districts of the country to identify solutions for the damages caused by the Sena caterpillar after it was first detected in 2018. The exercise had been carried out with the assistance of agrarian officers. Since the detection of the fall army worm, locally known as the Sena caterpillar, Newsfirst has highlighted the need to counter the problem by obtaining accurate data at field levels. But farmers are now facing the brunt of this menace that has aggravated due to delayed action.
Meanwhile, it is reported from Anuradhapura that another disease is spreading among the maize cultivation in the area. Farmers in the Gambirigaswava Vanipalugolave area in Anuradhapura, who cultivate maize on a large-scale basis, claim that a large portion of their cultivation has been destroyed.
There is no solution to this. We have put a lot of money and effort into this cultivation. We are facing a big loss. On top of it, there is a fall army worm menace. We have sprayed pesticides several times now.
When these farmers informed the agricultural authorities of their grievances, the solution given to the farmers by the authorities was to remove the damaged maize plants as soon as possible. Accordingly, the farmers have taken steps to remove the affected plants. However, they point out that the disease is spreading rapidly in their cultivation.
This has ruined everything. More than 1,000 maize plants have already been destroyed. We request the authorities to look into this matter and provide us a solution.
Main sponsor.
Another group of Ukrainian tourists arrived in the island this morning. According to our correspondents, the tourists landed at the Mattala airport at 2 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, another group of tourists who had arrived previously in the country from Ukraine visited several places in the island today. The tourists went on whale watching off the seas of Mirissa this morning. Former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga, was also a member of the group.
The third flight is arriving at the Mattala airport today with 178 passengers. Most importantly, there were 32 small children among these passengers, and we hope that they too will go whale watching. We have got everyone's support. I think this is good news for everyone in the tourism industry. We look forward to receiving daily flights to the Mattala airport from Russia, Kazakhstan as well as Ukraine. I will dedicate myself to continue this project.
Meanwhile, another group of Ukrainian tourists visited the Yala National Park today. A flight carrying 180 tourists from Ukraine arrived at the Mattala International Airport on the 28th of December. According to the Tourism Development Authority, 5 of them were found infected with the COVID-19 virus. The Tourism Development Authority said the tourists will be allowed to travel without a 14-day quarantine period, as they will not have direct contact with the community. These tourists were allowed to travel to certain locations today.
Meanwhile, 7 people who visited the new Manning market in Paliogoda were tested positive for COVID-19. They were identified positive following a PCR test carried out on the samples that were obtained last Thursday. The 7 patients have been admitted for further treatment. Meanwhile, a discussion was held with the participation of the health officials, defence officials and vendors regarding the steps that should be taken to continue activities at the market complex. According to our correspondent, a committee of vendors was appointed to ensure that health guidelines at the market complex are followed.
We do not have to shut it down. The meeting was held to discuss ways to curb the spread. If we actually adhere to health guidelines, there will not be any problem. Therefore, in order to save this economy of the vendors and the farmers, we cannot close this down.
There is no need to be afraid. This place is a good place to work while maintaining social distance. We couldn't engage in business for a few months. If this continues, the current status of the country will worsen. All vendors and farmers will have to face it. If that happens, it will be a huge loss for us. Meanwhile, COVID tests were carried out this afternoon at the Golface Green, Colombo.
We are hoping to carry out close to 250 tests. By now, we have carried out about 100 tests.
3 more COVID-19 deaths were reported in the country today, raising the total death toll in the island to 211. 311 COVID-19 patients were identified in the island today. According to the Government Information Department, 228 of them were close contacts of the Palagoda cluster, while 83 of them were linked to the prisons cluster. The total number of COVID-19 cases identified in the country increased to 43,167 today. 7,242 patients are currently receiving treatment at hospitals. 562 COVID-19 patients made a full recovery today and were discharged. The total number of COVID-19 recoveries in the island rose to 36,717.
India has approved the COVID-19 vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, paving the way for a huge immunization campaign in the world's second most populous country. Information and Broadcasting Minister of India Prakash Javadekar told reporters that the vaccine had been given the green light yesterday. It is the first COVID-19 vaccine to be approved for emergency use by India, which has the highest number of infections after the United States, and comes on the day the country is running a nationwide mock drill for vaccine delivery. Javadekar said at least 3 more vaccines were waiting to be approved. Local company Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, Zydus Cadilla's Zycovid-D and Russia's Sputnik 5. Meanwhile, India staged nationwide drills to start one of the world's biggest COVID-19 vaccination programs. The Indian Union Health Minister, Dr. Harsha Vardhan, has claimed the vaccine will be available free of charge in India. He also took to Twitter to confirm the news and wrote, quote, "In the first phase of COVID-19 vaccination, free vaccine shall be provided across the nation to the most prioritized beneficiaries," unquote. India has reported more than 10 million COVID-19 cases. The country hopes to inoculate 300 million of its 1.35 billion people in the first 6 to 8 months of this year.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned for more of the very latest.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. The Committee for Protecting the Rights of Prisoners has said that an inmate injured during the unrest at the Mahara prison has entered a state of coma. This was revealed during a media briefing held today.
An inmate by the name of WPCSN Kirtiratna is in a coma. He is receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Mulleriava hospital. The mother of this inmate turned up at the Mahara prison hoping to visit her son, but they denied access by providing various reasons. The mother has been informed that her son is in a stable condition and that he is being treated at the Mahara prison hospital for a minor injury, but he was taken to the Mulleriava hospital on the 30th of November. That is on the day after the unrest. But the mother was informed about her son's admission to the hospital only a month later. The inmate is currently receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the hospital. They are ill-treating inmates to wipe out any form of evidence of the unrest. The inmate in question had been beaten in an inhumane manner. The inmate receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Mulleriava hospital is a resident of Malvana in the Gampaha district.
When I visited the Raghava hospital, I saw that the name Chandkanama was on the list of patients. A few days later, a list of inmates who returned to the prison had been released, but my son's name was not in it. I was told that he has been taken to Gallala after testing positive for COVID-19. On the 28th, the officers told me that my son was in prison. I then left behind 3,000 rupees to be given to my son to obtain his meals. A couple of days later, the officers told me that a person called Kirthiratna is not in prison. When I inquired about his whereabouts, I was told that he has been admitted to the Mulleriava hospital after testing positive for COVID-19. They asked me to contact the doctor to try and save his life. When I rang the hospital, I learned that my son has been lying unconscious at the intensive care unit for more than a month.
The unrest at the Mahara prison on the 29th of November claimed the lives of 11 inmates. Secretary to the Ministry of Justice, MMPK Maya Dunne, has said that the recommendations of the committee that investigated the unrest will be implemented at the earliest. He added that a work plan has also been drafted to implement the recommendations of the committee. The report is to be tabled at the cabinet meeting in the near future.
Just like what happened in 2012, innocent people have got caught in this. One person said that a drug named Reverse was responsible for this. Another person said that shots were fired but no one was hurt. It has been clearly proven that medical drugs given to mental patients was not the cause of this riot. Under these circumstances, they are now attempting to switch the blame on a few officials. We responsibly state that these officials alone could not have done this without an order from a higher ranking officer. They cannot fire shots without approval from senior officers. All senior officers are going to get exonerated, while a few junior officers will be blamed for this incident. Just like what happened in 2012, a few innocent people will be blamed for this incident.
What will happen to the East Container Terminal at the Colombo port? You're watching Primetime News here on TV1. Stay tuned.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohita Abegunawardena paid a visit to the Malwatu Mahaviharya today. He was accompanied by two members of the Cabinet Committee to negotiate the handing over of the East Container Terminal to foreign investors.
Minister Rohita Abegunawardena, Secretary to the Ministry of Ports and Shipping UDC Jailal, and Chairman of the Ports Authority, Retired General Dayaratnayaka, arrived at the Malwatu Mahaviharya this afternoon to inform the Chief Prelate of the Malwatu chapter about the present situation of the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port. India is a foreign country. Even they are trying to use us to attack other countries with their military from this location. Even America is waiting. And China too. This is a strategic location. As we said, we will not take loans. We invite investors from Japan and India to come and invest. We will own 51% and they will own 49%. In 35 years, we will own it 100%. It is easy to say these things, but hard to actually do them. The East Container Terminal was abandoned for 5 years. It is those who lost us millions of dollars are the ones saying that. We would like to do it if we have the money, but we have to compete with the world.
නමුත් ලෝකයේත් එක්ක අපි තරඟ කරන්න වෙනවා. බොහොම ලෑස්ති. ඔබතුමාට මම කියනවා ඔබතුමා ඒක පාලමක් වෙන්න. දේශීය ආයෝජකයාගේ එකේ. ඒ වුණත් ඔබතුමාට දෙන්න ලෑස්ති. බොහොම ලෑස්ති. මම ඔබව ඔබට ඕන වෙලාවක මගේ දොර ඇරලා. එක්කන් එන්න ආයෝජකයා.
We are of the stance that our assets must not be sold to foreign entities. We don't have to sell our economic hubs to foreign nations. If there is a requirement for foreign investors, we must first consider whether there are local investors who can invest in these relevant projects. We must consider foreign investors only if there are no local investors. I am not recommending the sale of the country's assets. Investments must be encouraged. The Ports and Shipping Minister had submitted a cabinet proposal seeking a $700 million investment to the Colombo Port's East Container Terminal, but the cabinet paper has identified the investor as Adani Group. There is no issue if they are trying to attract investments targeting local investors. I wish to declare that allowing foreign entities to get away with our resources is a threat to the country's economy. Diverse views are being expressed on this matter. A decision has not been reached yet. Various individuals are expressing their stance. In the government policy, we have mentioned that the country's resources will not be sold off to foreign entities. That does not imply that we will not bring down foreign investors. There is no harm in obtaining investment for a 49% stake, while the government has ownership of more than 50%. We require an investment of $700 million US, regardless of whether it is from a local or foreign investor, under the condition that we hold a 51% stake in controlling the operations of the terminal. We will divide the profits based on this percentage. The foreign entity will lose ownership in 3 decades. We will then receive complete ownership. The East Container Terminal has already slipped out of our hands since the cabinet has made a decision. They are claiming that it has not taken place to desist objections that are rising locally. The East Container Terminal is a massive source of income to the country. By granting cabinet approval, a decision has been made to vest the East Container Terminal with India's Adani Group. They are sweeping the matter under the carpet to respond to objections by the people.
A 57-year-old farmer died during the widespread protests in India against 3 contentious agricultural laws that would benefit large corporations like the Adani Group.
A 57-year-old farmer from Bagpat, a supporter of the Bharatiya Kisan Union, died at the UP Gate protest site yesterday due to a heart attack triggered by the cold conditions. According to Indian police, the farmer's family did not opt for a post-mortem and his body was sent to his village for final rites. So far, 46 farmers have died as a result of the protest. On New Year's Eve, a candlelight march was brought out as a tribute to all farmers who have lost their lives amid the standoff. Meanwhile, the 7th round of talks between the farmer groups and the central government will be held on Monday. The farmers group said yesterday that their agitation would intensify if the government failed to resolve their demands for the repeal of the 3 controversial farm reforms and a legal guarantee for the minimum support price. Speaking to reporters at the Singhu border in Delhi, the leaders of the groups pointed out that only 5% of the issues raised by them have been discussed at the meetings with the union ministers. The farmers have also warned of a tractor rally on Wednesday if the reforms are not repealed.
A special discussion took place today on addressing the threat posed by leopards to the people of Panama at present.
The discussion that was chaired by the Ampara District Secretary was attended by representatives of the Wildlife Department, the Army and the police.
We will have to reluctantly resort to some form of action even if environmentalists heavily oppose any harm from being caused to leopards. This leopard has been killing villagers. Last night's attack had taken place at a paddy field, unlike the location of its previous attacks. We wish to tell the additional director that we cannot expect the leopard to be trapped by offering caged dogs as bait. But if the leopard is only preying on people, how can we expect to trap it by setting up cages? We reached a unanimous decision to guard the crops in groups. We are on the process of receiving the equipment from the Wildlife Department to set up a trap for the leopard. Upon learning that the leopard is afraid of a person's face, we decided to wear face masks at the back of the head. I might include these suggestions in the next set of solutions. The leopard attacks the neck of its prey. To protect the neck, we explored the practicality of using a collar to prevent injuries. The injured farmer had been attacked on his neck. A collar would have prevented the injuries to the neck.
One person was killed and another injured in the latest series of attacks caused by leopards in the Parnam area. A farmer who visited his paddy field to inspect an electric fence yesterday was injured in the attack. He is receiving treatment at the Ampara General Hospital. The remains of a person believed to have been killed by a leopard on the 30th of last month were identified in the Kudumbigala area. Police suspect that the victim had been attacked by a leopard at a paddy field in the area. Our correspondent reported that the location of both leopard attacks is close to each other. 5 suspects have been arrested over an attack on the wildlife office in Panama last evening, prompted by the recent attacks. Police Special Task Force officers have been dispatched to tighten security in the area. Against such a backdrop, questions have been raised on the sudden occurrence of leopard attacks in the country.
The area in the vicinity of Kumana are ecosystems which leopards inhabit in large numbers. Several activities that encroach upon the habitat of the leopards have been taking place in that area. We have learnt that corn has been cultivated by clearing 36,000 acres of forest land. Large chunks of land have been cleared to make way for cultivation of sugarcane as well. The recent attacks have taken place as a result of these activities. Leopards tend to move out of the forest to find food when their habitats begin to shrink. They may also encroach on villages to target easy prey as they grow older.
The failure of authorities to act on wild animal attacks have often prompted residents to take the matter to their own hands. A recent incident took place in July 2018 when residents beat a leopard to death in the Ambalkulam area in Kilnochi. Meanwhile, the carcass of a leopard was discovered in the vicinity of the Ratgammana Reservoir in Mathala yesterday. An autopsy carried out on the remains had revealed that the leopard had died at least 5 days ago.
The Girithare veterinarian officer conducted the post-mortem examination on the carcass of the leopard. We learned that the leopard was 5 years old and had died about 5 days ago. We are conducting an inquiry to determine the exact cause of death.
The opening ceremony of the Sri Dhamma Vichitara Ashramaya in Aturugiriya was held yesterday. The event was attended by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
Religious observances were conducted during the opening ceremony to invoke blessings for the new year.
රජයක් තිබුණත් නොතිබුණත් මං හිතනවා අපේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයාණන්ට මේ කටයුත්ත කරන එක මහා දෙයක් නෙවෙයි.
Regardless of whether he is in the ruling party or not, this is not a hard task for Sajith Premadasa. I can predict one thing. I can't tell you whether this will happen today or tomorrow, but you will be the president of this country. I am making this prediction while standing on this holy land.
කාන්ත වශයෙන් මේ රටේ ජනාධිපති වෙලා තමයි ඔබතුමා කටයුතු කළා තමයි අවසාන වන්නේ. ඒකට ඔබතුමාට පින තියෙනවා.
නොයෙකුත් අවස්ථාවන් වලදී රටක් හැටියට විවිධ අභියෝගවලට අපට මුහුණ දෙන්නට සිදු වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
We as a country have had to face various challenges on many occasions. We have overcome all of these challenges as a country. We can defeat the COVID-19 virus as well. During this new year, we need to stand together as one nation to develop this country, to ensure its security and the security of the Buddha Sasana. We need to strengthen our sovereignty, unity, territorial integrity and political freedom. This can only be achieved if we unite as one nation. The time has come for us to unite, leaving aside all differences. All of us should work together with a collective mission to build our motherland. We should also protect Buddhism in this island.
ඒ වගේම ඒකායන අදිෂ්ඨානයෙන් අපේ මාතෘ භූමිය ගොඩනගන්න අපි එක්ව කටයුතු කරමු. බෞද්ධකම ආරක්ෂා කරන්නට අපේ බෞද්ධ ආගමික පද්ධතිය ශක්ති.
And in international news, a study conducted internationally has found that the new variant of the COVID-19 virus is hugely more transmissible than the virus's previous version. The new study concludes that the new variant increases the reproduction or R number by between 0.4 and 0.7. The UK's latest R number has been estimated at between 1.1 and 1.3. It needs to be below 1.0 for the number of cases to start falling. Professor Axel Gandhi of London's Imperial College said the differences between the virus's types were quite extreme. He added, quote, "There is a huge difference in how easily the variant virus spreads. This is the most serious change in the virus since the epidemic began," end quote. Early results indicated that the virus was spreading more quickly among under 20s, particularly among secondary school-aged children. But the very latest data indicates that it was spreading very quickly across all age groups. According to foreign media reports, countries including the United Kingdom, Spain, India, United States, Lebanon have reported the new variant of the COVID-19 virus. And with that, we wrap up prime time news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. We would like to thank our sign interpreter for tonight, Taraka Gabriel, for joining us for tonight's bulletin via Zoom. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Paldano. Take care and good night.